Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on the Weekend Show. With President Bola Ahmed Tinubu spending over a year as president of Nigeria, we stated earlier that most Nigerians expected a reshuffle in his cabinet on Democracy Day when he has clocked 1 year in government. Within his 1 year in government, we've had a minister being suspended. We've now had a case which is in the news about the correctional facilities. We've had several scandals, but we've also had the standard of living getting worse for the people. We've got higher inflation. The president has asked that October 1st this year would be spent in a very low-key format to avoid excessive spending and the likes. The president was also absent from the UN General Assembly, where the vice president represented him. However, here in Nigeria, in the last 1 week, we've seen hundreds of billions of naira in contracts being allocated and awarded. We've also seen the National Assembly approve the supplementary budget for the FCT. And so the question Nigerians are asking, does the buck stop at the president's table, or are there some ministers who are doing great and some who are non-existent? Some Nigerians have called some of the ministers ghosts. There are a handful who are doing admirable work. But how does this translate into the masses? And having this conversation with me today, we have Comrade Igo Akerega, who is the President, Civil Liberties Organization and member, Nigerian Guild of Editors. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Also joining us, we have Dr. Francis Okoye, who is a political scientist and a public affairs analyst.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Welcome back on the show. And last but not the least, Honorable Idris Kaugo, the national team lead at Iku Youth Wing. Welcome back on the show. We started this conversation the last time you were here, and since then there's been no reshuffle. We've seen a lot of appointments across different parastatals and sectors. Do you think that a cabinet reshuffle would fix the problems Nigeria is having right now, or is that just doing a ceremonial activity to save face? I'll start with you, Idris.
Thank you, my brother, for having me again. I think I love it when you say some people are asking if some of the ministers were ghosts. Unfortunately, even me, myself, I don't even know most of the ministers. If I even see them just by their picture, I can't even say this is a minister of so, this is a minister of this. I can't, because they are not active. But at the point, I don't blame them. I blame the president, because he's the one who appointed them. If they are not active, he should know what to do. There's a saying that says, if you know you can fire somebody, don't employ that person. But lots of the ministers were just there doing absolute nothing. The question we should ask, is it because the presidency is not checkmating them? The person who employed them is not checkmating them? And this APC government, from day one, all they do is to complain. Blame games upon blame games. I think 8 years is enough to make things work better. With the issue of the inflation and so many things, I don't understand. And the president is saying nothing about it. Even the president is not even active. Does he even talk? He doesn't even address the nation. It's as if like he only talks, maybe let's say after 5 or 6 months. That's what we get to hear, and then we get to see, okay, he's in a meeting. That's all we get to hear. We have countries whereby the president addresses the nation, talk about what's going on in the country on a weekly basis, some even on a daily basis. But how can you even control the ministers? How can you even know if they're active if all you do is just to stay in the villa? You have to move out. You have to check. You have to know what they're doing. And people keep complaining that we, the opposition, are always complaining and other things. I think the president should know the best way to make your government work and successful is to listen to your opposition, because your opposition will tell you exactly all your errors. But they don't. All they do is just to hunt us. That's all they do. If you talk, you get arrested. What? They can't arrest all of us, but we will keep talking, and this is our country. We are going nowhere, and we will make sure that things are put in place.
Francis, what's your opinion on all of this?
My opinion is very simple. I am an APC member. I've always told truth to power. The last time I came to this studio, I condemned some of the actions taken by our president and some of the appointees of the president. In fact, in that last interview I attended here, I fully made it known that the president will soon, I use the word soon, reshuffle or rejig his cabinet, and which Bayo Nanoga, SA media to the president, just confirmed about 3 days ago, and that will not pass this coming October. Why is it necessary? It is necessary because out of the 40-something ministers of the Tinubu government, I can tell you as an APC member, as an insider, that not up to 70% of them are performing. That is the simple truth. You can give it to the Minister of Works, Senator Dev Umahi. He's doing marvelously well. You can give it to Minister of FCT, Wike. He's doing very well. You can give it to Ojo, Minister of Interior. What's his name again? Olubimi Ojo. He's doing extremely well. There are many of them you can mention that are doing perfectly well. But some others are not doing well. If you permit me, I can even mention some of them that are not doing well. Please, too.
Feel free.
You have the Minister of Youth, who nobody knows that even the Ministry of Youth is existing. That woman should be fired and should not be allowed to return to that cabinet after being reshuffled. We have another woman, Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Hanenye, who is not equally performing. Or is it the Minister of Finance that has been bringing policies that are somersaulting the administration? There are many of them I can begin to mention that this president needs to show the exit way. Like Idris said here, if you employ somebody, you should equally have the capacity to fire if that person is not performing. Majority of Nigerians are not happy with some of the policies, some of the programs and activities being discharged by some of the appointees of the president. And at the end of the day, like he said, the box lies on the president because all the blame will still go to the president because he appointed them. So it is high time our president used this hammer on some of those underperforming and non-performing ministers so that new blood, new people can be injected into the administration to see what we can achieve before the next election time. Because before you know it, the next year now, end of next year, campaign will start. It will hurt governance, which you wouldn't want to happen. So it is high time, like Bayo Nanoga confirmed that the president is going to reshuffle and rejig his cabinet the last 3 days. Let that be done immediately. Then issue of humanitarian minister that was suspended since over 6 months now, about 6 months ago. It is high time an action is taken on it. If that ministry is to be scrapped, which I don't think it is the best thing to do. But if it is the best thing, according to the president's wish, let it be done. But if it is not going to be scrapped, let another person be appointed to replace that position. We can't have a situation where you have permanent secretary running a ministry like that. Because that ministry has a lot to do in achieving the renewed hope agenda of the Tinubu administration. In other words, it is very important that we have a substantive minister heading that position. That is my take. So it is important that we equally assess the ministers based on some of them who are not really showing what they are doing on the media. Some of them are doing a lot. I will not deny them that. But some of them are under-marketing what they are doing. Most of the activities or the achievements are not... Go to the real sector. The Minister for Steel is doing a lot, but most of them are not seen on the media. So that is what I'm saying. That in conclusion, I think a good number of them are not doing well. Let them be sacked and the new blood injected into the system.
Comrades, the government will tell you that they've approved student loan. They'll tell you that they now have SMIDAN, which is meant to be giving funding. The Bank of Industry also is supporting business, according to this administration. Minimum wage has been reviewed upward. And I read just this week that NYC core members, their allowance has been increased from, I think, 33,000 to 77,000 and the likes. And so I recall watching the video last week where the president was asking Senator Adam Soshimole, how are we doing? And I'm paraphrasing, but Senator Adam Soshimole said he's doing really well, exceptionally well. Being in the civil space as well, we've seen the different protest and strike actions. ASU has just also issued another 14-day ultimatum. And also as a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, what's the pulse of Nigeria?
Well, I'm happy to sit beside the two politicians, somebody from the PDP and the APC. I think most Nigerians have been sold an empty cookie jar by the APC-led government. They were sold a terrible dummy, and everybody was lumped into a vehicle that is headed nowhere, right? And that is where we have found ourselves. The predicament of the Nigerian state is anchored on the false philosophy of empty promises that is often given to, often made to Nigerians by the ruling class, by the ruling elites. I do not call them leaders deliberately because there is a vacuum of leadership in the country. Apart from a few conscientious, committed, patriotic politicians, political leaders, I can mention a few across the state, a few governors across the states, that you can just point to, a handful of them, you know, that you can point to that are showing some semblance of leadership. Almost every other person is coming into the public space to loot, to steal, to impoverish the Nigerian people, all right, and to, the painful aspect of it is also to rub it on the faces of Nigerians, that there is nothing that they can do about it. And so there is a political conspiracy. Over time, it didn't just start today, but it became worse from 2015 when the APC took power. First, we were told that General Muhammadu Buhari is the only man, a retired general. At some point, he was reputed to have chased some bandits across some old folklore stories that were sold to Nigerians. And Buhari came, and first he said that Buhari was going to deal with the issue of insecurity. He was going to curb corruption because the man is incorruptible, and that, of course, he is going to attract foreign investment and rebuild the economy that was allegedly destroyed by the PDP. What did we have after 8 years? A shambolic man who, because for some of us in the media, beyond even being a civil rights person, after Buhari left power as military head of state, he never appeared in any public space. He did not deliver any lecture. He did not write any book. He did not appear in any media space. And then you dig that kind of individual from nowhere and forced it on a country of over 220 million people. And look at the catastrophe. We are still reeling from it. Look at the catastrophe that Nigeria was plunged into under 8 years of Buhari administration. That is not enough. We were told that Tinubu, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the right man for the job. He himself said it is his turn, and that it's a lifetime ambition, and he has been preparing for this job. And he's a man who will hit the ground running from day one. And they started citing example of Lagos State. I lived in Lagos for so many years of my career as a young journalist. The leader who built Lagos State, because they've been selling this false narrative to Nigeria. It is not Tinubu. It is Jakonde that built Lagos, who developed Ikorodu, developed Ekpe, developed far-flung communities around Lagos. We have the Jakonde estate, the Jakonde schools. He came up with free education, free health. Lagos was peaceful, was a nice place to live in. And then, after, I still give a little bit of credit to Brigadier General Marwa when he was though he was a military man, but he also upped the ante in Lagos State. So there were already existing structure to drive a cosmopolitan state like Lagos. And Tinubu came in 1999 and simply, as far as I'm concerned, arrogated to himself all those achievements by the other, by Lateef Jakonde and Marwa and all of that. And they arrogated to himself that he was the father of modern Lagos. And Nigerians were sold this dummy hook, line, and sinker, and that this is the man who built modern Lagos, who was coming to build a modern Nigeria. Today, 1 year after, look at the mess we have found ourselves. And the worst thing now, you now have people I call political jobbers, political opportunists. Look at the chairman of the APC, for example. A man who was governor of Kano State, reputed with the videos everywhere, the stories everywhere. It is not about coming to arrest anybody. It's not about coming to force a tyrannic using state power, state resources, and coercive powers to intimidate people. It doesn't work. It has never worked anywhere. Historically, you go around the world, even Joseph Stalin of Russia, where he was a very brutal dictator, it didn't work. Adolf Hitler in Germany, who threw the war into the Second World War, it didn't work. When you try to exterminate people, try to stamp down the voices of opposition that people should not, should not raise their voices in an atmosphere of grandiose corruption, it will never work. And so where we are, 64 years, because by today is 28th of September, in the next 2 days, Nigeria will be 64 years as a country. But if you want to draw the analogy, whether as a child, for example, if you give birth to a child, that he has now grown to a full man of 64 years, and you still find that man sitting on the floor, not even crawling, because where we are, we're actually not crawling. We are sitting on the floor, an old man sitting on the floor. And that's why we have lost respect across Africa. We have lost respect across the world. And they are parading themselves as political leaders. My caution to all the political elites who have held Nigeria by the jugular, held Nigeria hostage, is that they may be having a field day, but I doubt if this is going to last for too long. You saw the end bad governance protest. That was an organic protest. Nobody organized it. It was an organic resistance by Nigerians who are feeling the brunt of existential reality that they can no longer survive this biting hunger that is almost exterminating. There's no middle class anymore. The middle class have been destroyed. Even the so-called upper class that used to be the elitist, it is now a bunch of individuals who have built a pseudo arrangement around themselves, hijacking the common patrimony of all Nigerians. Whether it is in terms of dollarization of the economy, they hold all the dollars. Whether you're talking about Naira, they have all the dollars stashed in their water tanks, in their toilets, in their bedrooms, and everywhere, leaving the majority of the people in abject poverty and hunger. If you look at the figures, we are now having unemployment, over 35% of unemployment in Nigeria, with a growing population. So the index, if you look at the index, it is not supportive of any development. Yes, we can sit down here and talk about the possibility of a government reshufflement of his cabinet. Tinubu is going to reshuffle cabinet. My brother sitting here, who proudly said he's a member of the APC, he himself has alluded to the fact, although he wrongly said that he thinks that 70% of the ministers are performing, but he was able to mention only 3.
I think he says about 70% of them are not performing.
Oh, okay. If he says about 70 are not performing.
No, I said 70 performing.
Oh, 70 are performing well.
He said 70 are performing. And then he mentioned 3 out of 47 ministers. All right? So if 3 ministers are performing out of 47 ministers, it then means that 44 are not performing.
I didn't.
Now, if you were
mentioning 3 doesn't mean they are the
I'm
only 3 people
I'm just trying to draw an analogy.
I'm not the only one in this studio to start mentioning all of them.
I'm just drawing an analogy. Yeah. Every Nigerian will agree with you, even with the names that you have mentioned. They resonate with most Nigerians, really. That these are they show flashes of intelligence, flashes of readiness, to deliver on the mandate of their offices. All right. But the point I'm making is that we have a president whom we were told was historically prepared for this job. And almost a year and a half on, the man is still grappling. We have the United Nations General Assembly that is taking place in the United States. He was not there. The vice president went there. When it comes to public speaking, it is the vice president's face that we see. The president has never taken it upon himself.
I disagree with you.
To address Nigerians on critical moments.
You've repeated
the president has addressed. Sorry, this is not.
I disagree
you have
with
your
you.
time, please.
I disagree. You've taken more than other time that other people took.
Only tries.
You are emphasizing it. It's wrong. You don't come here and talk such about the
president. Well, let you give feedback. So
yes, the point is that he was given a mandate. The president has less than 38% of the votes cast. Ordinarily, that is not a pan-Nigerian mandate. I will expect President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, seeing the weakness of he lost Lagos, which is his political base, he lost Abuja, he lost Kano. These are strong voting blocks. Now, if you lose this strong urban voting population, all right, Rivers State is contentious, is controversial, whether I even want Rivers or not. I'm not here to discuss the nitty-gritty of politics, but the point is, the figures are out there. He has 38% of the vote, not 40, not 45, not even 50. It means that he does not originally possess the mandate of Nigerians to be president. Today is president, we have accepted him, Nigerians have rallied behind him, but he is not performing.
Okay, I want to bring Francis
and Nigerians
in
are
before
angry.
I bring you in, Idris, because he has to obviously give some rebuttals. But Francis, just before you give your answers, in the last couple of months, we've seen Nigerian assets being seized by companies, by countries, and this has been a huge form of embarrassment to the country, where it's like either a presidential jet or properties being awarded to someone for Nigerian or a state government. And this administration will claim that most of these agreements was before they came in. But APC came in with the change mantra to change that and renewed hope. And so I do agree that we can't have the blame game. But what is your president doing to instill confidence, and what's your rebuttal to what Comrade has said?
The president is doing a lot to instill confidence on Nigerians. The issue of cabinet reshuffle or rejigging is part of those ways of instilling confidence on Nigerians. He came back from France the other day. He rushed to Borno, where there were flood disaster that destroyed more than 50% of the city of Borno. This is a president who, if he was not a listening president or a pro-masses president, he wouldn't have done that. He would have allowed it, since he had already sent his vice president and senate president. He wouldn't have gone there himself, but he went there himself. So my friend here telling us that the president is hardly seen, it is a wrong accusation. Tinubu is always on the media, he's always performing, he's always on doing one or two activities that Nigerians are seeing. How can you now say that he appears only once in 6 months? It is a wrong accusation.
No, but he means addressing the
Secondly,
nation,
I'm
not from a meeting.
I'm coming, please. You didn't interject him, please. Allow me. Now, he is saying again that the ministers are not performing, that not even one of them is performing, only the 3 of them, like Watts and the rest of them. He's just putting words in my mouth. I will not come here and start mentioning all of them that are performing. We don't have the whole time to ourselves. What I'm saying in essence is that I agree that some of them are not doing well, and they should be shown the back door or the SH door for new people or new blood to come in and perform. That is the simple truth. Then secondly, when an administration like Tinubu administration inherited many ills from the Buhari administration, I joined APC while Buhari was about leaving office. So I can't give any credit to the Buhari administration, because even before I joined the APC, I was criticizing the government of Buhari. But this particular government that I'm part of, I was a member of APC Presidential Campaign Council that enthroned Tinubu. Judging Tinubu under 1 year and 3 months in office and concluding that he has not done well is what I will not agree on this studio. We have to give him additional 1 year at least for us to be comfortable in saying that Tinubu has performed abysmally poor. But for now, we can't use that word on him. We cannot. So we have to give him that ample time, more time for him to rejig his cabinet and for new people to come in order to face some of the rots in the system. As far as I'm concerned, Nigeria is a beautiful country that has lofty dreams and aspirations. We are going to get there. I still believe in the development of this country under the Aswati administration.
Thank you very much, Dr. Francis. And just some facts and figures. As of May 29th, 2023, fuel was 170 odd naira. The dollar to the naira was less than 1,000 naira. You have people like Yemi Kadosa and Wole Edun who were promised that they could make miracles work. And it's interesting that whether we like it or not, the APC is APC, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said he's going to continue on the work which was done by President Buhari. And so all of a sudden, hearing that, oh, what the previous people did sounds like we're going in a cycle. But Idris, I'll bring you to the mix, because your candidate who and someone who you support, Vice President Atiku, had said he would remove fuel subsidy. Peter Obi of the Labour Party had said he will remove fuel subsidy. Tinubu had said he will remove fuel subsidy. President Muhammadu Buhari had stopped the CBN from floating the naira for a long time, and your party attacked him saying this wouldn't help sustain the economy. And so what someone like Francis would say is, regardless, and the president has said this, that they didn't meet subsidy, they didn't have provision for this, and everybody had agreed that we needed to float the naira and remove fuel subsidy. But now we're all complaining. What do you think would have been different if the PDP or Vice President Atiku was in power? Because you're meant to be one of the biggest oppositions right now. Do you think anything would have been different?
Absolutely. Buhari's government was one of the worst governments ever so far in the history of this country. And then we have somebody who says he's going to continue the good work or from where Buhari stopped. So we're expecting nothing good out of it because we see nothing good that comes out of Buhari's government, but suffering, insecurity of a thing, fake promises, a lot of things. And then we have a certain president who says we should not suffocate the masses, but is currently suffocating us to an extent, not even, I think it's not even strong, she's even strangling us. Atiku Abubakar said he's going to remove subsidy, but in stages. He's the only candidate that says he will remove subsidy, but this is how he's going to do it. Stage 1, phase 2, phase 3, up to 4 stages. How? Number 1, you have to make sure that things are going on well. You have to make sure that, okay, you pay people good, like for example, salaries. You have to make sure that you have created a lot of business atmosphere for the people so that they can have enough resources to do whatever they want to do. But this one, who says he's going to hit the ground running from day 1? Of course, we have seen it from day 1. He haven't even entered office. He doesn't even know what it is. He doesn't even know how it looked like. Subsidy is gone from day 1. So what do you expect? They have no plan. They have any sympathy for the common people, for the masses. Just like what my brother is saying here, thank God, he's mentioned earlier that he's not happy with the administration himself. Simply because my brother here is kind of like trying to make him understand the errors, all the mistakes, and all the fake promises they have made so far. You know, APC are kind of, I don't understand what they are, but they are kind of group of people who doesn't even believe in the truth. An APC man can look at you now, for example, you'll be like, hey, this is a blue cloth you're wearing. You'll be like, I know this is red. And he will do whatsoever it takes to make you all confuse you, to make sure that what you are wearing is red cloth. I can ask him some few questions now, which I'm sure he can't even answer. If I ask him about full name of few ministers, like for example, does he even know who is the Minister of Agriculture? The full name of him? Does he know the full Minister of Police Affairs? What's the senior and the junior minister? If he can mention them. But I'm sure he can't because they are not even performing. And these are key ministries they are headed. I don't even know who is the Minister of Agriculture. During Obasanjo's time, during Jonathan's time, you know all these ministers because they are performing. They are doing a lot of things. So you don't have to be on the media to talk before they know you know. Your action, if you are working, you will know it. But if my brother here can tell me the full Minister of Agriculture.
Idris, we are not here to debate.
I'm not.
The ministers I mentioned, their ministries here, I mentioned their name. So you telling me to start mentioning other people's, I think
these are key
it is not, no, we are not debating
these
here.
are key ministries.
Idris, we are not coming here to debate on who is minister of this and that.
Who is he?
The ones I have mentioned, I got their names.
You can't even
so
mention
I don't understand where you're going
if
again.
you can tell me that.
Idris,
asking me to do this and do that.
So I also don't
Is he
have.
supposed to be doing that?
I also don't have a lot of time, but certain things have stood out. Francis, you have clearly said there is room for improvement.
Period.
And I do commend you because not a lot of people from the APC will come and say that. Idris, you have clearly said, and one agreement we have across this panel is that the president's ministers must do better
Good.
or must be removed.
They are absolutely
Across
doing nothing,
board.
and the president is absolutely doing nothing
must
about
be.
it. If he can tell me the name of that minister, I would decamp to PDP to APC right
No,
now.
but Idris, just because of time, you've also made some valid points on how Vice President Atiku had said he would have fixed it. And I recall in one of his interviews where he said, bring the private sector in, and everyone said, oh, you want to bring your friends. We also see what Dangote is going through with his refinery, which was meant
We have seen
to
the
be
same
the
president
savior.
who said that he does suffocate the poor masses, and we have seen the president who said that I am not here because of your money, but that same president is still purchase a yacht, new plane jets, new sophisticated vehicles and other things. And then we have
So Francis and Idris, Francis, one second. So this is not something we can finish today. So comrade, I'll give you the final say for today in the sense that there's something which is quite concerning, and this is stifling the voices of the masses, especially in the media space. Yes, we must have a conversation about ethical journalism, which I'm sure you have also been concerned with in the last couple of years. Everybody with 5,000 followers is now a blogger, is now a journalist. And so we see some unethical journalism. But there's also now this fear in the media space, basically in the media space, about people being scared they would be arrested and dealt with for sharing their opinions or some facts about it. What's your take on this? Yes, we do have a Minister of Information who is not as brash as the last one, and he has been more measured, but there's a concern about the media space in this administration. What do you think should be done?
Well, that's an excellent observation. I was just going to mention this when people talk about ministers that are performing and those that are not performing. As a journalist, I know that the Minister of Information is actually one of the best ministers that the president has picked. He's not loud-mouthed. He's very professional, very meticulous in his job.
Yes.
And he's been doing a whole lot. Because, let me tell you, it's difficult to manage a bad brand, right? The job that the current Minister of Information has, I must say, is a difficult one. And he's been going about it very professionally, such that you could see the mild temperature in content reportage in the media. The media is not really attacking the Tinubu government so as strongly and as viciously as it should because of its failures and all of that. That's because you have a ministry, you have a minister who is able, who could pull the strings behind. He is also a journalist, he's a media owner, he's a media professional, who could pull the strings behind and try to get media managers to understand the challenges that the government is facing. Unlike the former minister, of information under Buhari, that one was just like Jobels under the Hitler government, who was just a propagandist, who was selling all kinds of half-truths to Nigerians. And at the end of the day, Nigerians came to realize that, they have all been lumped into the Nigerian Palace one-chance bus that, that then dropped us in a bus stop that has no address. All right. So these are the issues that we are confronted with in Nigeria. Essentially, the media, thank God you have also said that a blogger is not a journalist. Anybody who takes a smartphone and is able to push information around does not make you a journalist. I graduated from the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, established by the International Press Institute, all right? And I am a well-bred, thoroughly trained journalist. I know what is national interest. Most of these individuals who push information do not know what is national interest. If you read, if you watch CNN, some of these international media organizations, that will report, that is not to say there's no insecurity in the United States, but they won't report it. Look at the war between Israel, Gaza, that is the Palestinians, and now Lebanon. You see the Times of Israel, how it reports it. It reports the content that is published in the Times of Israel. It's always continuously pushing the Israeli national interest. It takes professional journalists to be able to manage
some will call that propaganda, comrades.
Yes,
a lot of
there's a difference between propaganda reporting or propaganda publishing. And I think even if I'm in government, I will not have the patience to tolerate people publishing falsehood against people. If you must publish anything in the media space, it must conform with basic principles of information dissemination. That is objectivity, fairness, and truth. So if what you are publishing is not the truth, if you are not fair, if I'm not objective, that is hearing from all sides concerned, then that is not news. So when people, as a journalist, when I open my phone to read information, I know if this, what I'm reading here is published by a journalist or just anybody who has a smartphone in his hand. So, but that is just by the wayside. The issues here is the issues that concern all Nigerians. When we speak to say the government is not doing well, it does not mean that we dislike the government. We hate the government. Tinubu himself is a pro-democrat. He has a strong history of pro-democracy. He funded pro-democracy. He marched the streets. We saw what happened in 2014 when he led the Lagos street resistance against fuel price increase. So some of the criticism coming from us is driven by disappointment. That is a man that we thought that, okay, yes, Buhari has messed up, he has disappointed Nigeria, that he was coming to make a difference. And then you could just see the plunge, the steep plunge that we are witnessing. And then, even if it's my father, I will tell him the truth. But I must also concede this morning that in the area of security, I give it to this president, that he's doing well. Because one, whether we like it or not, once a Southerner becomes president in this country, you now see a particular region in this country trying to stoke insecurity and all, trying to steep it up. But for any discerning mind, you will know that. I remember when President Jonathan was there, it was the same thing. When Obasanjo was president, that was when people came up with Sharia and all of that. I saw Obasanjo respond that was political Sharia. It will fizzle out. Today, we still talking about Sharia. It has fizzled out. So it was actually, some of these things, are cocooned, presented to us as some kind of when people come, whether it's ethnicity or religion, they sell it to the gullible as, holistic issues. These are not holistic. It's just to serve personal and political interests. So my advice to the president this morning is to rein in his security goons. People who are criticizing the government are actually patriotic citizens. They are patriots. Nobody loves Nigerians more than any Nigerian who is speaking truth to power. All right. When you speak truth to power, it means that you are a patriot, you actually love this country. The president should listen to people rather than arresting people and the overzealous security men, DSS, police and all of that who go after. Sometimes the president is not even aware. That's the truth. Some of these people just take it upon themselves that, this individual is disturbing this government, so we want to go after him. If you go after me today and another voice, how many people will you be going after? Or will that stop the hunger in the land? So that is why I make the point this morning that we all have a country to build. 1964, 1970, Nigeria started with Malaysia, with China, with Asian tigers. Today, we are far behind, even within Africa. Look at our currency. Benin Republic, look at the CFA in the Francophone West African sub-region. They are not rejecting the Naira. That is how bad we have fallen. So the point is that we need to put our hands together as a people and as a government to ensure that we try to consolidate.
Comrades Ego,
potentials.
Dr. Francis, and Idris, we do all agree here that one thing stands out, and that's the love and interest in Nigeria and for Nigeria. No one here is doing anything because they hate anybody. At this point, I'll tell you, the average Nigerian just wants to be able to eat and transport.
Exactly.
The three of us here know what it's cost us alone to get to AIT today. It would cost you a minimum of 10,000 naira. If minimum wage is 70,000 naira, that's already a huge chunk, more than 10%
It's a pittance.
of
It's a slap on
a
the
monthly
wrist.
minimum. So we all know this, and so the buck stops on the president's table. He needs to fix up, he needs to act. And Nigerians are patient and have been patient. But something also vital, which you said, you do have a lot of overzealous government officials where the president doesn't know about some of these things. But it's up to them to speak to themselves and replace people who are causing a mess. But we will continue to observe. By next week, we should have some pronouncements of sorts from the presidency, if there's a change or not. So we'll definitely bring three of you back again to review what has been done. And Francis, next year, we'll give you the second year. No, the three of you will be here. The three of you will be here to figure out how it's going and also see the performance after the second year. But on the final note, it's extremely important that we hear from the president himself. We didn't get that from President Buhari. We don't want just Independence Day. You don't want just Children's Day or those Democracy Day
Ceremonial
addresses. And we don't want to hear when he's having meetings with select group come to Nigerians, speak to Nigerians. That's the much we can take on the political segment. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, more lighter notes. We have social media trends and we have entrepreneur spotlight. And America was about to round up with his poetic interlude. See you after this break.